If you're someone that uses voice notes on a regular basis, this video is going to help turn those into your content system. Recently, Notion have released meeting notes, and I'm going to showcase how you build a journal where you can review every day of your business, which is going to help you turn that into content you can use to grow your audience. If you're also looking to scale your company through systems, I've got a 7-day series you can join below so that you can start today. Essentially, what we're going to be building is your ability to turn your voice notes in your normal day-to-day into content that you're wanting to build. You might be using voice notes quite a lot right now, and it's something that I think a lot more people are leaning towards, where they want to use their voice notes to help with content. It could be for ideas, and it could be for your general journal, and it could be for your day-to-day with your business. Now, how I'm using it is actually related to my business itself, and I'll show you exactly what I mean when it comes to this. So in my Notion training, this is just a facility I use for clients to basically help them understand Notion a little bit further. One of the things that I've created is a journal entry. So essentially at the end of each day, I've got an area set up that allows me to start transcribing meeting notes. And then from here, I ask myself some questions, and then I've got an AI block that is essentially telling me, to act as a professional copywriter, use my ideal client profile, my hooks, and my vision for the company, and turn this into areas that I could potentially improve. This is such an easy way to turn your voice notes into an actual area and generate you a lot of content. I've been using this now probably for the last 3 weeks, every single day as a sort of journal, and I've turned a lot of the content that's happened in my day-to-day into content itself. So I'm going to show you how to build this step by step. And if you're curious, by the way, on what you'll need to actually use this, 2 things as a sort of criteria for this. You have to use it on the Notion app on your desktop if you're using it, and you also have to use it on your phone if that's the case. You do also have to have the business sort of area that you are going to be using. Now, this is because you've just got a trial in the Plus version, but from using Notion for the last 7 years, this business version is totally worth it, especially with the introduction of AI. You now have the ability to also connect your Slack, your Google Drive, and they've got a few betas coming in with Microsoft Teams and stuff like that. For the next few years, I believe Notion will continue to push this forward, but the AI meeting notes is obviously what we need for this. So that's important to realize if you're wanting to start this. What most people have been doing, if you have been trying to transcribe your meeting notes, is you essentially download it from a Google Drive. You take the voice note on your phone, put it into the Google Drive, and you'll then use automation to essentially send that into ChatGPT, send it back out summarized, and then into somewhere that like Notion or like Airtable. But now we can do it directly from Notion itself. So if I come into the daily journal, and let's just use this June the 4th as an example, I can now start transcribing, and you're going to be able to see that this is now picking up my voice. So if one of the things that I talk about today is that I'm going to create a YouTube video, and this is directly going to be about how we turn voice notes into pieces of content and how this can actually transform people's content system to make it even better. If I now stop this, you'll see how quickly this is able to come up with a summary that I'm looking for, obviously planning a YouTube video for voice notes and some key points that I could potentially take out of this. Now that it has the summary, I can use this generation of the sort of ideal client profile that I have for myself and seeing what I can come up with in terms of content. So areas I could potentially improve in my business, we've got leveraging AI for efficiency, we've got systemizing content creation, that's taking it directly from there, and some potential content ideas that I could use from my meeting or some potential hooks. So what if you could turn a 30-second voice note into a week's worth of content? That is a pretty decent hook. It's not anything crazy, but it's something to start off with. And that is one of the things that I've really liked with this, is that we're not using AI to completely eliminate us from the picture, but we're using it to stop us from having to think so much about what's going on. So this is what I'm going to show you how we build, and we're going to take it step by step. So if I just come back out to my core and we start this. Now, first and foremost, what we want to do is we want to create a database. So you can do /database and you'll create a full page. And in here, you can build with AI if you want to, or you can use a new database template. We'll just use the new database one. And we're going to call this voice notes just for the sake of it. From here, you're going to want a few things, and this is sort of what I like to add in there. The first one is definitely a date property, because you want to have what's happening on a regular basis of when it is. If you want to make it even simpler, you can do something like created time, and again, that will do the exact same thing. Then some of the things that I actually quite like to add is AI custom autofills. So in these boxes, you can then autofill what's actually been happening inside of that page so that you could see a quick glance, what is actually going on and how is it moving forward. Maybe what you want to generate from this page is what is the best takeaway from this summary. And this is then going to be able to take those from what we've actually done. So I'm going to edit this property just so that we can use this in the box so that it's easy to do. Usually I quite like to design the icons and stuff like that, but for the sake of this video, I'm not going to go over the design features because that will take too long. Now, the second one that I also like to use is the AI keywords, where we're able to allow it to generate more options, and then we can basically ask it to auto update on page edits. So in here, we're going to allow it to generate its own options and AI autofill them. Again, I'll show you what these actually are, and I'm going to just cover topics in here. Now we're going to create the template that we can use. You can use this as a journal. You could use this as just your voice notes. You could do this, whatever. So we'll just put it as voice notes. For the sake of it, we'll add a little icon for a microphone so that we know we have it. And then from this point, we're sort of designing how we want this to look. Now, currently, from what I've found with my testing anyway, Notion AI blocks can actually look inside of database items when they're on. So what I've done instead is I've created toggles to essentially place what I would like inside of those pages. Makes it a lot easier to actually do. Now, if we're wanting to design this a little bit more, we now have the ability to pin properties to the top of it. So this is a really cool way to actually see if we just pin these 3 properties right at the top. Therefore, we have them there. And at this point, this is when we can start to design the voice note itself. So if we do /meeting notes, we are going to be able to use AI to get notes in a transcription. And we can see here, we can transcribe it in a specific format, if it's in the auto, if it's in a sales call, stand-up, or team meetings for action items. So Notion can choose the best format, and we can also send consent, but because we're doing this ourselves, we don't actually need that consent itself. What I'm going to do from here is I'm going to add this second column. This second column is just to give me some more information about what's going on and what I want to talk about. So if I wanted to discuss things like what happened in my day, what could improve, and what can we work on tomorrow? It's just one of those things that it gives us the ability to reiterate to ourselves, okay, these are the things I want to cover when I'm doing this voice note. And it's also just a really simple way of keeping track of everything if you're wanting to have it in there. Now, under here, what I would then do is add an AI block. And in this AI block, you can ask it to do certain things. You can have some recents. You can see some of these ones that I've done. You can find action items. But the way that I've done it, and I'm just going to copy and paste the one that I use for my journal itself, is I essentially tell it that you're a professional copywriter in the social media and marketing space. And then I'm going to tell it that you're going to use specific things that I have inside of this page as guidelines for who I am and who I'm trying to target. And then from the transcript and summary you got from the meeting notes, can you break down a few things for me? Areas that I can improve on to work on my business, some content ideas that I could use from my meeting, and then some potential hooks I could use for my content, which would be scroll stopping for my audience. Now, again, what I've done is I've took my ideal client profile or one of my ideal client profiles, and I've just copied and pasted this directly into Notion. If I do the same as I've done before and I copy and paste these in, you'll see that I've just done /toggle. And I've created toggle headers so you can do whatever you want with these. And when I open them up, it's the exact same as I was showing you before. We've got the demographic, their core values, their desires, their fears, and that sort of stuff. And the same with some of my current hooks. These are just ones I've used for my content. And then my current goals and vision, again, some of the vision that I've come up with for my company and what I'm trying to achieve at this moment in time. Meaning that when I go into these voice notes and I actually do them, it can use that information that's in the page, because I'm actually, putting them in quotes here to use some of this that's in the page to help it. And again, this is why I was saying not using databases, because if you use databases inside of here, it doesn't seem yet anyway to be able to look inside of the database pages. But that is something that I've just found from my test, that this has worked the best for me and it's given me the best results of what I'm looking for. If we then come back out to voice notes, you'll now see that if we can make this the default so that it's for all views, if we come into the voice note, we'll now see everything here. The best takeaway, what it's taken from anyway, is it's just using the information that it's got in the page. So this is always probably going to come up with this to start with, but this is where we can take it a little bit further. So if I just start the transcription in here, again, this is going to take it directly from my voice and it's going to use it to its advantage. So if I talk about what's happened in my day-to-day, I had a client meeting where I was able to help some of the team gain more clarification on the system that I've been building for them. I actually added in this sort of voice note journal method for them as well. So at the end of the day, each of the team members could actually use the voice note system and then everyone would be able to keep updated on what's going on. All of them use content creation as a form of leads and getting inbound leads. So this is a great way for them to not go so far off of what their day is, but still keep track of what they've been doing. I also then have created this YouTube video to basically show how you can use voice notes inside of Notion to be summarized and turned directly into your content planner so that you can get moving forward. One thing that I could improve upon today is I could have potentially updated clients earlier in the morning to help them get on their way before I even started. So if we stop this generating now, we allow it to summarize. You can also take notes inside of that as you're having your meeting. So if you are actually having a meeting, you're wanting to take some notes, you can do that. But you'll now see it's going to analyze everything that's going on from the day. It's going to generate some topics of what we're looking at with the content creation, some next steps that I'm looking for. And then if we generate this from the sort of summary in the notes and the transcription that we've got from this, it's now, again, going to do the same thing as I showed you before, where it's going to look at the streamlining client communication, improving team accountability, building a voice note for myself if I was to have some team members. We've obviously got content ideas here of what we could potentially use. So voice notes to run your team like a pro, behind the scenes about sharing that introduced the voice note to the team and how they felt. And then some hooks of you're losing hours each week because your systems suck. Here's how to fix that. Struggling to keep your team on the same page. This one voice note hack will change everything. It's not something that is going to be groundbreaking, and it's something that you can work on over time. I've only got, 10 odd hooks in here. Imagine if I have 100 that it uses to be able to benefit it further. And if you're using viral hooks and you're using hooks that work for you and your content, this is going to become even better. So this is how you actually build something that you can use every single day and get it to repeat every single day. You can benefit not only your company, yourself, actually journaling to know how things are going, and all you're doing is you're doing it from a voice note. You don't actually have to do it in the app, so if you're just on your phone and you like to do it there, then you can do that. We have the things that we covered in this. This is automatically generated this, voice notes, content strategy, team enhancement, and then the best takeaway about the voice note journal method for team updates. So again, this just gives us the ability to, over time, see everything that's happening. And what you would want to do is you just want to select in that template that today would be the day that it's duplicated. So when you're doing it, you've already got it. And this just is an awesome, awesome way to see how you can improve your business and turn this into content. Another thing to take it even to that next standard is if you build your content inside of Notion, you could then use a relation to relate your content to this database and then transport some of the ideas that you've had from that day and then put them directly into your content calendar for what you're doing. Again, if you're wanting to scale your company to that next level and you want a 7-day series on how to do so, there's a link in that description to sign up in the newsletter. It's one of the best things you will do today. And if you have any questions on building this out further or any ideas for me to build this out further, then please let me know. The video on the screen right now is going to help you scale your company with systems, and I'd highly recommend you watch it.